Oh, I started it early. I didn't get what I wanted done before, and I hit the start button, and now we're live. So I'll just deal with it, I guess. That's how we're going to have to do it tonight.
Welcome to the Nilvah Nexus live here on Google Plus. Everyone watching, please comment, rate, and subscribe, and tune into the live broadcast. Come into the live broadcast if you actually have something to say. Please do. The link's in the description. Facebook, on the Google Plus forums, all over the place. We spammed it constantly, and that's what we do best here. So please come in and talk to us.
Shameless self-promotion is what that is. Now, the toolbox no longer works in the Google Hangouts now, so I'm unable to. But we do this every Thursday night, like John was saying. Google Plus, Facebook, we've got a group there. We talk about Torah every Thursday night. We're in Parsha Bo this week, which is the climax of the well, I guess you could say justice for Israel and justice for Egypt as well. We get the plague of darkness, and we get the 10th plague, which includes the Passover, of course. Parsha Bo, by the way, is chapter 10, and it goes through 13. Hang on a minute here. It's chapter 10 and goes through 13:16. 13:16. No control room. Oh well. Just sorry, guys. So yeah, and the topic this week, I want to talk about the ger thing. Last week was, why is everyone so offended by the ger? This time I would hope to. We'll see how many people show up tonight. A lot of invites out there. Hope you all come in. But I wanted to discuss the topic just as a topic, particularly now because we're about to leave Egypt, and then Hashem will remind us right and left after that to be kind to the ger, because you were once ger in Egypt. Abraham called himself a ger. We've got Moses himself, Moshe Rabbeinu, named his son Gershom.
Well, before we jump the shark here and we go a little too far, why don't we just explain to people maybe what does ger actually mean? Or is that going to be that's actually a point of contention, actually?
No, it's complicated, man. Hi, Ben, shalom. Welcome back.
Hello.
Here's the thing. I'm beginning to rethink what toshav means. Does it? And Ross, you brought up something, a link to teshuvah. Because that's what Avraham says. I was a ger and a toshav in Haran. Was it? It wasn't Egypt.
Yeah,
it was
Haran. Yeah.
Haran.
Something like that. Yeah.
So he says I'm a ger and a toshav, but we don't really hear toshav too much as we do just the ger.
It means no. Toshav means resident.
Okay.
So it's kind of an interesting concept. Ger toshav. It means like you're not known and known. It's like Michael Jackson. You're like black and white.
Hang on, I'm coming back. Hang on.
So the definition of a ger usually is translated as a stranger.
Yeah.
But that's colloquially, though. That's colloquially referred to as a stranger. The technical definition would be a convert, someone who converts.
It's an interesting topic. How we treat the ger. How many times is it? 30 some odd times. Torah reminds us to love the ger, to be kind to the ger, to treat the ger well. Go ahead, Ross.
50 shades of ger.
50. Oh, that's right.
Is it literally 50?
50 references. Another gentleman that has a congregation did a series of audios on all the mentions of Ger, and he titled the series 50 Shades of Ger for the 50 references.
Well, that's very interesting. 50 gates of repentance.
What you were just saying about stranger and convert, when Abraham used that word, I think he actually meant it in both contexts simultaneously.
He did.
Yes. I mean, Toshav, resident.
You either
Obviously,
treat me like I'm one of you, or I'm going to enact my special card and say I'm a ger and it's mine. So you either treat me like one of you and I get a good deal and I give you a couple of shekels for the cave because at the time it was buying the cave, or you know what? Screw it. I'll call myself a ger and I take it. Right? Isn't that what it goes, Russ?
I don't see that that's how he meant it. No, not that way.
But it was letting him know that I was a part of you.
The Toshav part means he's a resident. He knew who he was dealing with. He knew the sons of Heth. He knew the people that he was dealing with. They knew him. He was Toshav. He was a resident of the land. Okay? They weren't strangers. Ger, if you want to take it as stranger, he meant that, he could have meant that in a spiritual sense. I don't worship the gods you do. Okay? So, convert. I've converted away from your beliefs. I believe in Hashem, the only God.
The ger can go both ways, can't it?
Yes. I mean, on another level, he could have said ger, stranger, meaning, okay, you guys live here, and yes, I did come from somewhere else. Ur of Chaldees. So that word, the term ger for him could have meant a number of things.
I think he was trying to say I'm a ger as in it was destined for me, as in it already belongs to me. I think that's what he was trying to say. I think you have it just slightly off there, Ross. I think because if you read the way the Torah is written, he's like, yeah, look, I'm one of you. I'm a Toshav. Hey, I'm gonna treat you like we're brothers. I'll give you a good price. If not, then you know what? It's an inheritance. God gave me it. God gave me the land. I'll take it. It's me. It's mine. I'm a ger. It belongs to me. I don't have to give you money for it because I'm a convert and God promised me the land.
I never thought of it that. That's wild.
Yeah. And then he did make an offer. Take it. It's yours. What's a few shekels between us?
Right.
And then Abraham at that point insisted.
If he's saying I'm a ger and a Toshav, that's like calling himself a citizen. I can see that. I'm not one of you, but I have been one of you. I've lived among you. The thing I found surprising here lately in the past couple of months, and I've been out of the Noahide conversation. I don't need the drama. For all I know, this could still be a hot topic that we're not supposed to talk about. Nobody shows up. I don't know. But from what I gather is that there are some people who are afraid that I think is what do you call reverse assimilation, or when if we look at Israel as a ger, what happened to them? They came in, they were welcomed in. They were treated very well. They were given land. You know, and this is after, of course, their son saved the world through Egypt. And then they became materialized, if you will. They became slaves. And I'm thinking, when I'm hearing people say the reason why they don't like the idea of someone feeling so familiar with the Torah and feeling so familiar with Judaism, is that it would invite the wrong sort in. And I don't mean that the wrong way, because it's a hard thing to say, but I mean, Israel's a nation of kings and priests, right? That's their job, that's their function, that's their destiny. There's no way around it. That's just the way it is. We accept that. Why would you want to live with those people, except maybe to escape a nasty world? But why would you go to Israel? Why would you want to be amongst them? You know, I can understand why, you know, you don't just let anybody into your nation who gives you $10 and fills out a form and you get a little badge. It's more than that, you know. But I think the thing is, I was told by one rabbi anyway. I don't always agree with them on a lot of stuff. Agree with them on, you know, we've actually learned to get along quite well, and I think have been very amicable in our discussions with other people, but we're there at the same time on boards and forums and whatnot. But the thing is that you know, he sees outsiders as dangerous, and that has led to, I think, some of the contention. As when they give you the term Noahide, they invented this new thing, everybody over here. But then people started wanting to migrate over the Jordan. You know, people wanted to start coming in. And what do you do with people like that? Especially when a good deal of the Orthodox Jewish community apparently sees that as a threat. Crazy people like me who say Torah is as much mine as anybody's, and you know that your God is my God. But there is a ger that goes the other way, isn't there? Isn't there a warning of people who come in and cling to Israel, and then later it's discovered they did it for the sake of Babylon? You know, it comes out that they weren't. So I think they're, you know, apparently they're scared of that. So the ger can go both ways. You know, it can be a healthy ger or it can be an unhealthy ger.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's why you have judges.
Ah. All right. Ooh. Well, we don't have any judges nowadays that do anything like this, do they? I mean, you have to actually meet them on the Temple Mount, right? Our friend Russell Kirk and his wife and Jock, and they were accepted by a best end. They took Kabbalah there on the Temple Mount one morning. It was spontaneous and it just happened. I've mentioned that a couple times. It's like, well, there's what, three? There's 3 or 4 down. Okay, all right. But I think he had a point, and I'd never thought about that. So that's one of the things I want to talk about is the downside of the ger. Rabbi Katz has talked about it, and I know that it's not directly translated this way, but we've heard the term that harsh on Israel are gerim like thorns, and skin disease. That was the other, and it's a really not a flattering way to put it. But we do kind of come in from the outside. We are goyish. You know, a little bit. I'm not going to deny it. We're a little goyish. We come in, we've got our, you know, some of us might be a little misread or led on Torah, and we might need to be, you know, corralled back. Okay, here, you know, might need to get it straight and all, but yeah, I mean, I can understand their fear. Is there anything you think we can do? My goal is that my dream is everybody one day would stop using the word Noahide and go with the biblical terminology. Goy, Nokri, ger. If you're talking about the Passover, it's ger, Nokri, and hired worker. There's 3 different. You know, the hired worker can't get circumcised to partake in the Passover offering. A foreigner, a no-Cree, can't take part in the Passover. They cannot get circumcised. Only the ger can be circumcised and take part of a. So we have stranger, but wouldn't that be a hired worker, be more of a stranger than the ger? If the ger can get circumcised and take part in the Passover offering, what separates the no-Cree or the hired worker from this ger guy? And it's like it's fine-tuned, but that's from Israel's standpoint. We look at Haram, we look at Egypt, and the ger. It was almost like they welcomed them all in, and in the end, it became their doom.
I mean, there's something to it, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I think if we go by the Exodus story, the mixed multitude, the Aaron Rav, which correlates to the sparks of that were taken out of Egypt. Yeah, sure. They were the ones who as first chance they got, built that golden calf, right?
Yep.
But
Pat
I don't.
says
Huh?
Go ahead.
No. You I'm rambling.
No,
here.
Pat would say, he doesn't think it was just Erev Rav that participated, and even thinks that some of the Erev Rav didn't participate, and held back from the golden calf dance,
right?
That they were having. That, the hop, the cow hop,
the hop, skip, and a bop, I guess. But was it not for the better? I mean, was it not for the best though? I mean, eventually, I don't know. I don't know if they had anything to do with the spies. I think they also was part of the spy thing. They were also part. I mean, Moses complained to Moses about the meat and the manna not tasting like what they want to. I think he also got Moses to hit the rock when he was supposed to bless the rock or whatever. But I think at the end of the day, when it comes right down to it, it was for the best. I mean, even the way the story goes, I mean, it says that, it was Moses who wanted to take these people out. God, it was God, God's recommendation to Moses was leave these people behind. Why would you want to take these people with you? Moses pleaded for them. It says that.
You mean the mixed multitude?
The mixed multitude, right? Yeah.
Right.
God says that God didn't want to participate. They didn't want them to be part of it, and I mean, even he pleaded later on. Moses even pleads, "Take me before them." So I don't know. I don't really know what to say, but I don't know. I think it's for the best. I think that I think sometimes
Well,
go ahead, Russ. What are you gonna say? I'm lost for words over here.
So before they ever left Egypt, there were these individuals that were mixed. And
multicultural.
Do what?
Egypt was a very multicultural place. They had a lot of different kinds of people all over. In other words, slave of every color, really. That's what I'm trying to get at.
But what I think mixed here is, I mean, you've got the Ivri, the 12 tribes, the descendants of Jacob. They've kept Torah. These other individuals have just witnessed 10 awesome plagues. They have seen locusts, bloody water, firstborn. They've seen it all. Three days of darkness. And they're sitting here going, wow, this is like super awesome. None of the gods of Egypt could ever do something like that. maybe I should hook up with these people. Maybe. So they're all like, yeah, with you guys. But they're not still too sure about giving up the culture, the idolatry that they've raised with. But for the moment, it seems like, yeah, let's. So they're already what? In a situation where they're not, how shall I say, devoted.
They're half foot in, half foot out.
Right, they've got mixed feelings, mixed whatever emotions, probably emotions. So when they go out, they're not committed, they're not devoted, they're not set, which is why, just a few days out into the journey, let's turn around, let's go back. Hey, they had great fish back in Egypt. They had good garlic,
Right, yeah.
Let's just go. So they really weren't all that committed. And they hung, or some of them, I don't know, maybe you had a few of them drift back, but for the most part, they're hanging around. They're eating manna, the stuff that falls from heaven. And then some of them begin to complain. Hey, what is this manna stuff? Hey, I'd rather go back to Egypt and eat pot roast or whatever. They're really complaining about free food from heaven. They didn't have to work for it. But no, now I want to go back to Egypt.
Almost like the spirituality wasn't able to cling on to physicality as easy as they thought.
It's easier to pull the slave out of Egypt than Egypt out of the slave.
So when you get to the event of the golden calf, this mixed multitude, these ones with mixed feelings, have said, hey, you know what? I've had enough. Let's build an idol. Let's worship the idol. Let's do the things that we used to do in Egypt, lascivious sex, whatever. They committed murder. There was no courts of justice. They're ready to go back to their Egyptian ways. The mixed multitude, the ones that weren't committed.
Okay. I've got two different translations here. I'm gonna read so we can see. This is kind of neat, and it's gonna be great, and it's gonna muddy up the water. It's really great here. All right, I'm on chapter 12. We are on chapter 12, verse 43. I got my Gutnick edition and I got my Stone edition. And this is neat. This is about who may participate in the Passover offering. Just a moment here. I got a 3-year-old who is dying to join us and make lots of sound. Okay, on the Gutnick it said, and God said to Moshe and Aaron, this is the law of the Pesach sacrifice. No stranger, non-Jew or apostate Jew may eat from it. In the Stone edition, I guess we'll go verse by verse. No alienated person may eat of it. In the Gutnick it says, any slave belonging to a person that was purchased for money shall be circumcised, and then he will be permitted to eat from it. And here it says, every slave of man who was bought for money, you shall circumcise him, then he may eat. Okay. 45. A resident alien or a circumcised non-Jew hired worker may not eat from it. In the Stone edition, a sojourner and a hired laborer may not eat of it. Verse 46. It must be eaten within one house, i.e. one group. You must not take any of the meat outside the house. Here in one house shall it be eaten. You shall not remove any of the meat from the house to the outside. You shall not break a bone in it. Hang on, I'm going to turn my page here. The entire community of Israel shall make it. In the same, the entire assembly of Israel shall perform it. Okay, here's the good part. 48. When a convert joins you, you shall make a Pesach. He should make a Pesach sacrifice to God. In order for him to offer it, all his male family members shall be circumcised. Then he will be like a native of the land, bringing the sacrifice in its prescribed time. Okay, that was 48 in the Gutnick. Here in the stone. When a proselyte sojourns among you, the word for both of these is ger, by the way. He shall make a Pesach offering for Hashem. Each of his males shall be circumcised, and then they may draw near to perform it, and he shall be like the native of the land. No uncircumcised male may eat of it. Same here. No uncircumcised male may eat of it. 49. One law shall be for the native and the proselyte who lives among you. And then 49 here, the native-born Jew and the convert who joins you share the same law for all the mitzvot of the Torah as well. And then we get to 50 and 51. 50 was all the children of Israel did as God commanded Moshe and Aaron. They did exactly. That's pretty much the same here. And it happened on that very day. Hashem took the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt in their legions. Same thing in the Gutnick too. So we'll have one say proselyte who sojourns among you, and then we have a convert who joins you. But in here it'll say the ger who is circumcised. The ger is the one who gets circumcised. So there's a ger and then there's a circumcised ger. The circumcised ger is the convert. And the uncircumcised ger is still a ger, but is not a hired worker or a stranger, or is he alienated?
Does it say what type of circumcision? Does it say circumcision of the heart?
Each of his males be circumcised, and then they may draw near to perform it.
I guess that would be Brit Milah, I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
You know where all this originates from? Think back.
Abraham, when he was eating unleavened bread? No.
No, not when he was eating unleavened bread. When the angels, just before the angels came to visit, what did he just do? He was still recovering from it.
Right, his circumcision.
And who got circumcised with him?
His whole household, the whole household. Eliezer, his faithful slave, his son.
Every man that was bought
right,
from under the sojourner that traveled with him. This is going right back to Abraham. And again, when the angels came to visit, he prepared the meal. This was Pesach. It was on the day of Pesach when this happened. If you go back and read the commentary on it.
Is it Pesach?
Yes. And a little bitty clue that's hiding in that story is that Abraham brought them cakes, bread with leaven. When he shows up, or when the angels show up at Lot's house, it says that Lot served them matzah.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it says unleavened bread.
Unleavened bread, which is what?
Matzah, pita.
Yeah.
I don't think it's. I'm not trying to break your balls, Russ, but is it? I'm not. I don't remember it being Pesach being the day he circumcised.
Where did it say that? The reason why? Oh, I've got. There's a commentary on that. That he kept the whole of Torah voluntarily. That Abraham did.
I'm not sure where that commentary is.
Angels come to destroy Sodom. Okay. Made them a feast and baked matzos since it was Pesach. That's in the Gutnik. Since it was Pesach, of course, in parentheses. That would be page 105, Bereshit 19. Verse 3, he urged them very strongly, so they went inconspicuously towards his house. When they came to his house, he made a feast, and he baked matzos since it was Pesach, and they ate.
Went towards his house, you mean Lot?
Right. They said, no, we will stay overnight in the street. He urged them strongly, so they went inconspicuously towards his house. When they came to his house, he made them a feast and baked matzos since it was Pesach.
So Lot was keeping Torah too?
Yep.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that.
No, but he was not circumcised.
Lot wasn't circumcised?
No, he was already over living near Sodom and Gomorrah when all this circumcision.
Oh, that's right. That's true. Yeah. He wasn't circumcised. Yeah.
So he missed out on the circumcision, but he's over here serving matzah because it is unleavened bread. What's going on here?
Wait, what are we talking about? I'm sorry. I'm Googling things, so I wasn't really paying attention to what we're saying. What was the topic? What happened with Lot?
He served matzah because it was after Pesach. It was the period of unleavened bread, the 7 days of unleavened bread. It doesn't say anything about him doing any kind of a Pesach, which Abraham did, a form of, but you have Lot, an uncircumcised male. At least it's being suggested or hinted at that he is observing the Feast of Unleavened Bread.
I just did a Google on. It's funny. I did a Google search on. I typed in Lot served unleavened bread to angels, and the first thing I get is the Messianic website.
Of course.
Nobody
cares. Nobody cares. Okay. Oh, chapter. Angels came on the 15th of Nisan. The date would later become Passover. That's Rashi. Okay, there's nothing else on that in the stone.
That's it? Yeah. Wow. Okay. That's good.
Nisan, and then I'll check out our Sansino.
I was meaning to read about Lot. Actually, I was gonna go I haven't done that lately. I've been slacking. I've been slacking with my study.
Lots just gets it right and left. Okay. Here's some great lacy. That's 3.
I can't really picture Lot keeping Pesach though. It's kind of just like a weird thing.
No,
2.
I didn't say Pesach. He is doing unleavened bread, the 7-day feast after.
Right. Well, I mean, doing anything related to Pesach.
That's that's what it says in the Gutnik. They did it because it was Pesach. That's
Well, maybe for the
sensitive.
angels. Maybe it was because he was doing it because of the angels. I don't think he was personally doing it. I would say that he was just pulling the wool while trying to quote unquote pull wool over their eyes.
Back up a half a step and ask yourself the question: how did Lot even know?
It says that the angels were dressed in royalty clothing. That they look like rich Arabs, merchants.
How did Lot know about the Feast of Unleavened Bread?
Well, it would have been just a custom around then. It would have just been a custom.
Really?
Sure. Why not? I mean, if that's what it comes from, if Abraham is related to him, he's his family, he would have known about it.
So a 7-day Feast of Unleavened Bread pre-Sinai, and Lot knows about this.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't know about pace. He doesn't know about the future Passover, but he knows about unleavened bread and.
It makes me wonder what you gotta wonder. I mean, really, if this is like it says, since it was Pesach, 15th of Nisan, if they were given the full Torah, knowing what they were obligated to do, and here's all the things you can add to it, it makes you wonder how they read it. Were they reading it in future tense? You know what I mean? I mean, how did? And of course, there's no tenses in Torah, which just boggles the mind even more.
Something just occurred to me. Blows me away. Oh. Wrap your head around this. Abraham, first Ivri, right? Calls himself a ger, right?
Right.
And he's out here doing circumcision and Passover. He's going above and beyond the 7.
Right, because a ger isn't a Noahide. A ger is a Jew.
Oh,
he's not a Noahide.
I gotta go get
Abraham isn't a goy.
I gotta go get me a kippah now.
Who?
Well,
all right.
He said a kippah or a yarmulke.
I'm gonna open up the text.
Call it what you want: kippah, yarmulke, yarmulke, but no stremo.
I mean, that's what I would advocate. If you're davening, you should cover your head. I mean, you should wear a yarmulke.
I cover my head when I study. I've done it always. It's just something I keep doing. See, that's the thing. It's about something else I postulate about studying the ger in Torah, because he's everywhere. I mean, really, he's in a lot more Torah. You wouldn't notice it. I read a book on it, and then it pops out. So every time I'm reading the Torah, I'm going through the Parshas. Huh? So this guy pops out. It really puts everybody on an equal level. Moses called himself ger. Abraham called himself ger. God says that you were ger in Egypt, and you will be ger with me in the land. He also speaks to them and talks about the ger among them.
Right, but that's because they are strangers. That's why they're referred to as ger, though.
Yeah.
Right. So when you're no longer a stranger, you're not a ger. I mean, I don't even know really know how to say this. During the time of, like, let's say the first temple period, right? The kingdom of Israel and Judah, right? And everyone's living there happy. Everyone's happy. Are they ger? Are they gerim there?
Well, why would God say you will be gerim with me in the land?
But what context is that, though? When is he saying that? When is the land of Canaan, right?
Yeah, but when it's before they cross over the Jordan, or as they're crossing over.
So after they cross the Jordan, they're not ger anymore, right?
Well, he says, you will be ger with me in the land. So.
Well, but when does he say that? What I'm asking you, when exactly in what context does God say that to?
Hang on, it was Moses. It was in the
Moses. But Moses never made it to the Holy Land. Moses died outside the Holy Land.
It was in Deuteronomy. It was Moses.
So it was Moses saying. It was Moses saying to the other fellows that, yeah, you're ger with me in the land.
Hang on a minute. Let me find it.
Like, to me, ger means you're still in the process, if that makes any sense. Like, if you finish the process, like, why would you still call yourself in the middle of the process? You know what I'm saying? It's like,
yes.
I don't know.
It is. Hang on. You will be ger with me in the land. Hang on.
Because I do remember talking about this. I mean, I know what you're reading. I know what you're kind of saying. I kind of remember it. Vaguely remember. I mean, I vaguely do.
It's like they would be ger to God. We would be ger to the Israelite. The Noahide would be the ger to the ger Toshav, I guess, whatever. Here's the one thing about that. I like the biblical language. You get into the rabbinic language, and man, it's just complicated, and they are some hair splitting mothers, and they get it confounds the whole idea. You got the ger tzaddik and the ger toshav, and when does is a ger tzaddik actually a Jew? Well, and then it's all. If you look at the biblical language, it's so easy to see convert in one form or another. You don't get to sit and hang with Israel and be eligible to take part in the Passover without being some kind of convert already.
I think the problem is we're looking at convert as like the end process. It's not like you're level 1 ger, level 2 ger sadiq, level 3 ger toshav, level 4 Jew or something.
That's how it comes off, man. That's exactly how people see it, I think, from what I've gathered.
It's like Pokemon. You're like leveling up here. I just started as a Charmeleon, and then I leveled up to a Charizard. You know?
And it's not like that. It's simply not like that. It's just that, like David with Ittai. Yesterday you were a Nochri. Today you only came yesterday, but you're still a Nochri, an unknown. We're not sure yet. So go away. Twice he told him. Then he said the same thing essentially that Ruth said. God will be my God, and you are my king. Then David, and this wasn't even a 30-second conversation. David said, okay, now you can cross over with me. So this conversion stuff, this final step, no. If that were the case, if you make that final step, then there is no going back. So how do you explain an apostate Jew or an agnostic?
Yeah, the alienated. You can't go back. Yeah.
One who walked away on his own. He estranged himself is another way of saying it.
That could be any, and he said alienated. I bet that could be anybody who was outside the camp for Saras or something.
I think it does, actually.
That's like those who we don't want around anyway are in no way allowed. God makes that clear real quick first. Boom.
I think the problem. Go ahead, Russ.
I was just going to say, alienated, I think, has a different flavor to it than cut off.
Oh yeah, I guess yeah. That's true. I think the problem is that you're telling other people like what you are, right? I mean,
oh, the labels, yeah.
That's like it's almost like a setup. It's almost like a test almost. It's like maybe that's what the point of it is. I don't know.
It's the reason why I think we need to start having this discussion is because the ger is necessary for Ezekiel's temple. And if we can design robes, and we've got our menorah ready, and we've got all the fabrics, and we've got all the hooks and all the rings, and we've got all these, all these little mitzvot. Little, I don't mean little, but I'm seeing that very detailed mitzvot, if you will. Like it's very specific, and we've gotten that. We're missing out on the ger. The ger has to be there. The ger will be there. So if we're going to prepare for this world to come, if we're to prepare for the coming of our King, we have to look at this topic. And it's no one's looked at it. We don't look at it enough. And it's not just, what do I label myself? Because that's a turnoff. And yeah, I'll wear the ger cap, but boy, I really didn't know how much crap I would get for that. I really didn't know. But it should be teaching us how we are treating each other. How does Israel treat the non-Jew who comes to them? Do they draw a line in the sand? Do they try to capitalize on you? Do they try to monopolize on you? Are they welcoming? Are they like? And I think Rabbi Ketz said there's a healthy form of racism. It's out there, and we just have to deal with it. Some Jews would rather not hang with a goy. Oi, goy. It's the last thing they went on Shabbos is bacon. So it's how do we treat the ger? And then if we're ger, and then we're supposed to be under the same law that the native-born Jew, if you will, in this context, then who is ger to us? How do we treat the stranger? Which is even harder for us, I think, because we don't represent, but at the same time, we would know better what it's like to be an outsider than maybe the native-born would. So maybe we have those of us who cling to Torah and Israel and dive in. Maybe we have a duty.
I think you hit the nail on the head, James. It's like we're ger, and then how do we treat the ger that's scared to us? And I think that's exactly what the story of the Torah tells us. I mean, if you think about it, right? I made a video about this. Actually, I made the ger question.
It's a good video.
Why are all these gerim called shepherds? They're shepherds. Moses was a shepherd. Yethro was a shepherd, right? Because they told him, "What? You fuck off. You can't be a Jew." And what did they say? Oh, you think so? Not only did I become a Jew, but I made other people Jews. Boom. That's the golden nugget right there. How did Moses find his sheep to be a shepherd to? He had to go to Midian. And then he had to schlep back to Egypt and find some more.
He led the shepherd to Mount Horeb too, remember? He led his shepherd to the mountain of God where he had the encounter with the burning bush.
Right. You had to find the lost sheep of Israel. I did not come for those who call themselves Jews. I came for the lost sheep of Israel. Our good friend JC, another good, beautiful quote. That's the whole point of it is.
Yep.
Oh, God says to Moses, you know what? I don't want these goys. I don't want these goyim. Don't bring them out, right? Again, someone saying that they can't be a Jew. And then what does Moses say? Oh, you think so, huh? They're coming with me. And then we're going to schlep all the way to Mount Sinai. Not only are we going to schlep to Mount Sinai, we're going to accept Torah. Oh, they messed up. They didn't accept Torah. Okay, I'm going up a second time. Oh, I went up a second time. Didn't work. I go up a third time. 3 times the charm. That's what it says. It says it took Moses 3 tries to get the Torah. Went up 3 times. He finally did it. So I think that's the message. You keep trying. You go out and you do it yourself. Build your own shul. That's anyone listening. If someone tells you, oh, you can't convert, you can't be this, you can't be a Hebrew, you can't be a ger. Show them what it means to be a ger. Oh, show them then. Prove that person wrong. Open up a shul. Do it in your house. Buy a storefront. Open it on Saturdays. Daven. Do whatever you got to do. Prove it. Show it. Torah means something to you? Well, let's see it. What do you mean the Torah? You love Torah? Bruce said, your God is my God and your people are my people. Let's see it. Prove it. Let's see it.
I know what it means too when I meet certain folks that are, you'll never make it. You're different. But you're not Jewish, so it doesn't matter. You'll never know, or I can't discuss this with you because I don't teach non-Jews. I love that they say in public groups, in front of people.
Absolutely. So that you know what that says to me? You buy yourself a big set of Babylonian Talmuds and you study and you teach yourself and then you go on to teach other people. That's what I think. Shut that person right up.
Agreed. Because if you ask a couple of simple questions, Israel has a covenant with God. True?
Correct.
And you will be my people, right?
Right.
We have a covenant. So if there is a covenant and there are people on this planet that need redemption to be redeemed, brought back to where? Torah. Why?
It's talking about you, though, Russ. I like the way you word it. There are these people out there. I like that quote. There are people out there.
Real life.
You. What are you talking about, people? You.
Exactly.
God took you out of the land of Egypt. God brought you to the Holy Land.
See, when I got into Torah study, that's exactly the way I approached the Torah. I became a part of it. I was living it. I thought I was going along for the ride. I was schlepping right along with them. I wasn't there. I always picture myself outside the tent surrounding the Mishkan, the tent city, if you will. But that's how I saw I found myself there. It turns out there was a guy there.
It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Okay, you put yourself in the back seat. Okay, you automatically became part of the back seat, right? It's almost like, well, no. You're in the driving seat. You're not in the back seat. You're driving. Go ahead. What were you gonna say? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I apologize.
James, you said that while you were reading, you were envisioning yourself as there, kind of like an observer, and then you've discovered that there was somebody there the whole time doing this observation.
Yes. I did not know the Ger Toshav was biblical. I thought it was strictly rabbinical, that there was the whole Ger thing. I never knew there was just Ger, I just knew there was a Ger Toshav. It was rabbinical, and it's not really enforced, but you fit the bill, so when the time comes, you're coming with us. That's what I was told. I never knew that it was biblical. When I found out that it was biblical, yeah, then it was like boom, big bang, a whole new Torah. It's like every text I read since then has looked different to me. When I know that God made compensation for people like me, who cannot be Jewish, who cannot raise Jewish babies, but loves God, loves the Jewish people, loves the Torah, you know, for better, for worse. It was nice. It was gratifying. It was very gratifying. I hate to say it like that. It sounds egotistical maybe, but it was very gratifying that I wasn't crazy. Or that I wasn't literally making something up to fit my own personal eccentricities or whatever. I didn't have to make up a story. God already had a place for me in his Torah. Wow. I mean, wow. Come home. You know, it's like it was a homecoming. I gotta admit it. It was a shot in the arm to Torah study, man. Big time for me. And apparently to a lot of other people, because the concept is caught on.
Some people call that a paradigm shift. When it stopped being static and now it's dynamic. And you're in it.
You don't know the power of Sefer Torah.
But that's what it's saying. Redeemed from captivity. Who's holding them captive? Liars, witches, necromancers, everybody that's out here selling you anything except true Torah. What does God say? One God, one Torah, come back, come home. Forget the BS, forget the lies, forget the crap. Come home. I am your king. I am your father. I
think the problem, though, with that type of message is that it kind of gets a little. It almost becomes sort of, I hate to say it, sort of Christian.
That's what we've been.
There is no. What you're saying, Russ. There is no Jew. There is no Greek. There is no this. There is no covenant, old covenant, new covenant. It's just us. That's the Christian message, and that's kind of what falls apart.
No, I'm not saying there's no covenant.
But you're saying there's one law, one people, one God. No, there is an absolute distinction. There is Jew and Gentile. There are those who are not for Torah.
Agreed. There are those that are not for Torah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. But it's there if you want it.
It's there if you want it, and if you
it's there if it belongs to you. It's there if it's your inheritance.
Exactly.
Okay.
You're called to it.
You don't join up with Israel, or you don't go to classes with rabbis to be a Nokri.
Right. I think that goes over their heads too. You know.
Sure. But if you're doing teshuvah, what are you returning to? If you didn't have it before, you had something else. Teshuvah means to return. Return to what? Return to Torah. Of course, there is a covenant that he wants us to keep. It says all throughout the prophets, Zechariah in particular, if you will learn to listen to my commandments, obey my ordinances, then you will be my people. It says, for those that were not my people, there comes a day, the time is coming when I will say to them, you are my people. Well, he's not going to lax his standards and just say, it was all a joke. Nothing meant it. That would make him out to be a liar, which he cannot do. But if, in order for these people that were not his people to be called my people, they must have done something. They had to have done something. What is that something?
I didn't quite follow. They did something. Who did? What do you mean? The Garum?
Sure, yes.
And what do you mean they did something? What do you mean?
Okay. You said, John, yesterday you were not my people.
Right.
But there is a time, a day that's coming when I will say to you, you are my people. If he bases that on nothing more than just changing his mind, then somewhere along the way we got lied to about what we need to do, how we need to do it, and so on. I changed my mind. Okay, you're my people. Or is it rather that the people that were not the ones that he said are my people, the day comes when he says, you are my people. They had to have done something in order to merit that being called his people. What do they have to do?
Come home.
Come
Come
home.
home to Torah. Come home to the, yeah. There's, I think it's interesting too. Native born. That's the words that God uses in the Chumech. There will be no difference between you and they and the native born. And once they're circumcised, to go rabbinical here. A freed slave, let's say you're bought and on the 6th year, or 7th year, just happens to be the Jubilee. Or the year before the Jubilee, and you get married once you're free. And on the Jubilee, you're not only an equal citizen, but your children are treated as native born. I think after so many generations, they are considered Israelites, like part of the stock of Jacob.
3 generations.
And if they have, and a child who is born in the land gets circumcised, even if it's a slave's child, if I'm not mistaken. I want to say that's I could be wrong. I'm starting to slip on it now. I could be wrong, but so when you said it's a transition phase, I've always maintained that right now we have to look at this because we're all in exile still. I mean, I know it's the exile's over, but we haven't all made it home, but it's a transgenerational thing. We're going to have to look at it like, that's what I'm thinking about. How are my girls going to go? Are they going to take any of this with them? How can we find, how am I going to, if I were in the land, I would be elated that my children will be born into as a citizen. They're not Jewish, but they're citizens, and they, I would be elated if that would be the case. But we have to look at it like something down the road, something we have to prepare for, in my opinion. Go ahead.
You're talking about you set the example.
Stefan.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Just saying hello.
Hello? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right, cool. Well, I just wanted to come in here and give my 2 cents on it. Being a complete layman, I basically don't know anything about the scriptures, if you call the Torah the scripture. But from reading different websites, I've come to know some of the scripture by proxy, if you know what I mean.
Right.
So I guess a question I have, or one thing that I'm wondering is, why are there laid so many more commandments onto the Jewish people compared to the rest of the world?
That's a good question. Thomas, shalom, welcome. John, you want to take this, or shall I?
It's a very difficult question to answer, to be honest with you.
The Israelites have to build. You know, they are responsible for, in essence, keeping prophecy alive. The Holy of Holies, the temple. They have to set a moral example, so they have to kind of go above and beyond, and be very thorough in their actions. So they're kind of special. Really, what being a human beings, yeah, it's because they're the nation that's going to be the ones who bring world peace, and begin the work of bringing Eden back to the world, bringing back paradise. So they would be the priests. They would need more responsibility, if you will.
James is saying basically that essentially the Jewish people are a holy people, as God is holy, right? It's holy means separate. So God separated Israel from the other nations.
And this has to do with bloodlines in a way, right?
When it comes to the Levites, it does. But your question is like, why exactly did God choose the Jewish people? Is that what you're asking? Like, why not did God choose a different group over?
Not exactly. I was more so wondering why not all of us should do all these commandments.
Oh, I get you. Oh, okay.
Because,
okay, I guess I misunderstood before. Okay.
Because in God's eyes, I suppose, they are good. They are all good, and they are all something we should strive for, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would say personally, I would say, yeah. I mean, if God is saying it's good, then you should do it. Absolutely, you should keep the mitzvot. But the Torah isn't exactly like, how can I put this? Like egalitarian in any way. It's not like it's engulfed in culture, nationality, and religion. It's like saying, I give you an example here. I got you, Stefan. It's like saying, why if the Constitution of the United States is so good, why isn't everyone under the Constitution? We should just, the Ruskies should just have the Constitution, First Amendment, Second Amendment. Everyone in Africa, everyone in Asia, they should, let's all put them underneath the Constitution. But no, there's a distinction. The Constitution is distinctly American, and therefore Americans obey it. Same thing with Torah. Torah is Jewish to its foundation. That's why the Jewish people keep it.
That's interesting. Thank you.
Not saying you can't. Not saying if I mean, this is the whole Hangouts about. The whole Hangouts about, how far does a non-Jew can go? How far can they go? Are they called a ger, sadiq?
What is the stranger? How do we treat the stranger? Who is a stranger to us? Those who, like me, who love Torah and just kind of tries to gears his actions in life around what's being taught here. Juxtaposed to, who is our ger? Who is the stranger to us when they come to, how do we treat them? How does Israel treat the ger? How does Israel treat the Noah? It's all, that's what God really wants us. He doesn't really go on as much about labels, except at the Passover, which was in the Parsha this week. More or less in how do we treat the stranger, and what is everybody has been a stranger. All the big ones. Adam was a stranger. You can definitely call Noah a stranger. Abraham called himself a stranger. Moses did. He said to the Jewish people, "You will be ger with me. You'll be sojourners." So it's like this level of outsider coming in, how do we treat him? And how do we view him? And how can we change the way without, that's the kind of theme. I don't mean to correct anybody. That's kind of what I was driving at today. I didn't want to get the whole controversial thing. But yeah, what you're asking is really good because, if you keep the 7 laws of Noah for heaven's sake, you may progress. And it's not like, I think, Gav, you said at one time, what do you do when you wake up in the morning? Well, when we wake up, we daven. And I think that's a good thing for me. So how can I tell you that it's not good for you when I know by doing it, by being it, that it's a good thing? So how can I keep you from, you know what I'm saying? Or why should I tell you? Why would Gav tell a non-Jew or anybody in the world that davening in the morning is bad, or that you shouldn't do it when it's such a good thing?
Excuse me, davening?
It's a great question. Go ahead.
Excuse me, davening? What was this?
Praying.
All right, you shouldn't pray in the morning.
No.
Davening is not just praying like, oh dear God, please talk to me today. Davening is logistical prayers, like certain prayers that you're obligated to do.
Oh, I get you.
Everything that Jews do is scripted. Everything is halakha, law. So the way you put on your shoes, you got to put them on a certain way. To davening a certain way, praying it, you have to pray in a certain way. You have to eat certain food, wear certain clothing, think certain thoughts, have certain types of sex. Everything. It's all legal.
Just to put in the side chat here, Gav was saying, you Birkat ha shachar, wash, put on tefillin, put on talit, and then you daven. So there's I put it backwards too. It's put on talit, put on tefillin, then you daven. So it's there's a lot to do. There's a process to it. Talit be the fringes that you see on Jewish folks. They got the fringes down on the corners of their shirts.
Prayer shawl.
Yeah, prayer shawl. There you go. Tefillin, where they wrap the leather around their left arm to the middle finger. That's what tefillin. So there's a process that Jews go through. Either a proper way to awaken in the morning and greet God. Getting ready to do it in an hour or so. God is. Yeah, it's about sunrise there, isn't it?
Well, if that makes my heart feel any better than it does in a perpetual cycle of sin, I would be happy to accept.
Who says you're in a perpetual cycle of sin?
I do.
In what way?
But
I think you said didn't you come in and you said you were what was your religious persuasion?
I don't follow a specific religion,
okay.
But I do find that the Noahide path seems to correlate with my belief.
Cool.
Well, you definitely just a quick advice here. You shouldn't speak like a Christian.
You're not in a perpetual cycle of sin.
Not in a perpetual cycle of sin.
Well,
yeah,
let me put it to you in a quick way. Like, okay, the Jewish view is that we all have choices, right? Which is contrary to the Christian belief that we are all sinners by nature.
Right.
But
right.
Okay, even though I have choice, it's like I get possessed, and just sin. It's just, yeah.
But it's not so much that you sin. It's that you pick yourself up when you're done. You make good on what you do wrong.
I think you're using the word sin as in you don't believe that you're doing exactly what. How can I put this? You're not doing exactly what God has prescribed your life. Is that what you're trying to say? Like you don't believe like the choices that you're making in life is matching what God wants you to do. In layman's terms.
Well, to put
like
it
you could do better. Like you could be a more elevated human being than what you are.
Yeah, let's just say that I'm a lustful, gluttonous, greedy, slothy, wrathy, envious, prideful person.
Are those sins? I mean, I don't understand. Are you saying that are those things wrong or evil
No.
in some way?
That is the
Well,
Christian seven deadly sins, by the way, John. Just to
I know. I'm trying to get him out of. I'm trying to get him on our side. I'm trying to bring him to the dark side of
Well,
Judaism.
we have cookies on the dark side.
they impact your heart, is what I mean.
True.
And-
Fair enough. Fair enough.
And if you just continue to sin in the way that I just put it forward, you can't attain a connection.
A sin is a connection to God, actually. Every time you sin and every time you do a mitzvot, you are connecting to God. Every time you stumble, the connection that you make to God is small, but it can become even greater once you realize you've fallen and you make repentance. And then when you realize, oh, how far I've fallen, that instantaneous moment shoots you up so far up to the heavens. Woof. You get what I'm saying? That's the power. That's the power of it.
I've had that once in my life, and I was just in tears on my knees begging for forgiveness. And yeah,
I've been there.
It definitely did cleanse me. But
Been there, yeah.
the fall is true, man. I just keep falling.
It's all right.
Pick yourself up. Don't stop. Don't give up. Don't drown in your. Don't drown in that. Every day you've got a new slate. If you wake up, you've got a chance. You have if you wake up in the morning, that means that you're good for something.
Yeah.
You're made.
It says to love God with all your heart. But if you actually read it in Hebrew, it's plural. Hearts. Love God with all your hearts.
Really?
So the sages asked, the sages asked, what does it mean to love God with all your hearts? It means to love God not with just your yitzhar tov, your good inclination, but to even love God with even your yitzhar hara, your evil inclination. To love God with both of them. Your angel. Everyone is given an angel and a Satan, and you have to worship God with both of them.
That's really deep.
And it's what it says. Esav. I have a brilliant video on this. I actually teach this on my video channel. And it says that Esav fulfilled that commandment. How did Esav fulfill that commandment? He's a wicked person. He's one of the most evil person that ever lived. It says that he used to hide in a cave to practice idol worship. He would live at home with his father Isaac and pretend he was a good little Jewish boy, wear his tzitzit in a kippah, look at me, what? But he would run off to a hidden cave and worship false gods because he loved his parents so much he couldn't break their heart. He couldn't allow his parents see him to be such a bad person that he hid himself away. That's fulfilling one of the greatest commandments that you can do. Love and honor your parents.
But
he did something evil, but yet did one of the greatest mitzvahs that anyone can do.
Yeah. But what's the point of even worshiping idols if they don't exist? That's always baffled me. It
works. It works. Idol worship works.
Yeah, and that's the spooky thing. That's yeah, it's a human frailty.
But if you know that the one true God is with you all the time, why would you do that?
Because you don't know the one true God is with you all the time. That's why in Christianity they teach you you're separated. Rather than and they don't. I mean, it's not. I don't want to say it's universal, but it's certainly a teaching that's been around a few centuries. And the whole thing about Judaism is, you're already going to be material, and you're already going to be if you will, a slave to this world. You will have your own Egypt. Your society will have one, but you're made in His image. He doesn't say believe in me. You never hear Him say follow your heart. The New Testament's all about heart. God's like, do it. It's like the intellect. Use your brain. Use your mind, man. God's all about the cerebral. Torah is very heady. You know what I mean? It's and not the heart. So I was going somewhere with this. I don't know where. I'm going to be quiet now and let somebody else talk. Oh,
that message conflicts with my view on God, who appears to me to be living in our hearts.
Oh, well, the law's on your hearts. God does say the laws. The heart is the seat of the intellect. And God does say the law is on your heart. It's not far from you. It's written on your heart. The Torah is already inscribed. And you're right. In other words, what I'm saying. I'm saying Torah agrees with you. I'll shut up again.
No. I've followed your channel now for maybe 3 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Dude, I'm glad you came in, man. Welcome to the dude. Oh, dude. Oh.
Now you guys.
Thanks for coming in, man. It's been too long. It's about
now
time.
You guys have a Norwegian on the team.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Where in Norway are you from?
Trondheim.
Okay. To Oslo.
Oh, right. I tried to find a rabbi here in Trondheim, but no such luck.
No.
They don't have a large Jewish population in the Scandinavian area.
They have quite a large community in Oslo, but
okay. So you have to go to like the capital, like the big city. Okay.
Yes.
I hear you.
But please don't let me veer you guys off topic. The gear.
No, I think your question was like brilliant.
Yeah. There's a big.
It was profound, very profound.
There's a big contention amongst the Noahide community. There had been. I've been out of it for a while, and there are people who are frightened at teaching non-Jews that they can say Shabbat Shalom. That they can if they can a non-Jew build a sukkah? Can a non-Jewish person do these things? And although halakhically it's allowed in many cases, not all, it still frightens folks, and that's one of the big contentions. I'd like to ask Gab a question. There were 3 kinds of ger you discussed, and the one that I wanted to keep bringing up because we don't talk about it, and that's the ger that is there for the sake of Babylon, the ger that leaves. He walks out of his own accord. And that's one thing that a lot of I've spoken to 2 rabbis who've told me flat out they're nervous about us. I was even said, you're an outsider. Even with your passion, all that, I still consider you an outsider. And I personally find that dangerous. And he opened up and said that to me. And I felt like, wow, like we are on the same level now. I know why he feels the way he does about things. But, that would be a concern for Israel, wouldn't it? Letting in just anybody. So I was going to ask you with the 3, it was ger hagor was one. There were 3 kinds of ger. What was that, if I may make so bold, if you could, sir?
I'm only aware of 2. This whole concept of 3 is brand new to me. There's the ger hagor, which is the same as a ger tzedek, which is a non-Jew that has become a Jew, someone who's gotten through the whole conversion, is now indistinguishable from the rest of the Jewish people. And then there's the ger hatoshav, the gate proselyte or the partial proselyte that lives within your gates, but who's not a full member of the community or the people.
What's okay, so there's not a 3rd ger who walks away?
He's talking about, Rabbi, he's talking about Hagar, like Abraham's wife.
Is that Hagar?
Yeah. You're referring to as a apostate. No?
Yeah, but a non-Jew really can't be an apostate. That's the thing. An apostate, according to Torah, is someone who's obligated to follow the Torah and then walks away from it. You're not obligated.
So there's not a ger who leaves necessarily. Okay.
No.
I was concerned about the dangers of the ger. I brought up it's not translated properly, but harsh on Israel are ger like thorns and a skin disease, something along those lines. Assimilation being a problem, bad influence, shiksas, we all know the power of the shiksa. So, I wanted to be honest about it. I mean, apparently there are people who see the idea of people, who would see themselves on the ger side of the non-Jewish spectrum in Torah. I don't know how the labels are ridiculous anymore. They would be nervous about that sort of thing.
Who would be nervous?
There are two rabbis who told me. I don't want to mention anybody here. I'm not going to mention names, but when you're a rabbi and you're well respected and you say that being an outsider, you're an outsider, and that's just the way of it, in the story. And one guy said that I find that dangerous. And I said okay, and I felt he was being very candid, and I took it to heart.
So one of the rabbis said he found it dangerous.
Right.
Okay.
You're always an outsider. Okay, there's Goy, there's Jew.
Did he say why?
Just being an outsider. He's kind of short. I didn't push the issue because we'd always been butted heads, and on this particular occasion, we were quite cordial and in agreement in the subject. So he said that to me, and I didn't ask him why. And he brought up. He brought up somewhere in the Talmud that talks about the ger, or the person who comes into Israel for the sake of Babylon. He wasn't seen as a, he came in and everyone thought he was a God-fearer and for the sake of Israel, for the sake of heaven, for the sake of Torah, and he winds up being there for the sake of Babylon. And
that's about converts. That's not about Noahides or non-Jews.
Oh.
That's why some rabbis justify making the conversion process so hard to try and keep people out, because the logic being is that someone who converts and then walks away from it can be very, very damaging. Very, it's not a good thing either to them or to the Jewish community.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
But yeah, that has nothing to do with you though.
No.
So let me ask a question again.
Never.
Ger, which we're talking about, is that a complete convert?
That's the debate.
It depends on the context. It depends. Sometimes it can be, sometimes it's not.
Okay, but to fully convert to being a Jew, you need to be circumcised. Is that correct? Or at least spill drop from blood from your penis?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
You need the sign of the covenant to be part of the covenant.
But then you're obligated to be a part of a nation of kings and priests. That's what the nation does. That's what citizenship means.
Well, the thing is, it's a one-way door. You can walk through, you can't walk back out. So once you make that commitment and you take that step, you've gone from being obligated to just 7 to being obligated to 613. If your heart's not in it, it's better that you just don't.
I don't want to offend anyone,
no.
But the whole idea of spilling blood for something, it might have something to do with my sort of Christian-ish background. It seems satanic to me, but I don't want to say that it is, obviously.
No, it's all right, man. Question away, dude. Yeah, circumcision. I don't know. Moses was born, if you will, circumcised or with no foreskin. But then we get circumcision of the heart too. The only time blood would ever be required would be on the circumcision, I think. I don't think blood's really required anywhere else. Certainly not.
Blood would require for the altar sacrifices and stuff, wouldn't it?
Well, and today, actually, yeah, so the ger who circumcises, I think it says must offer, shall make a Pesach offering himself. Not just does he get to participate,
Oh yeah, that was interesting. You read that? Yeah, I heard that. I remember that you saying that. Yeah.
He has to go even farther and circumcise his firstborn males. So they're talking conversion. That's the big difference. There's a ger who isn't circumcised, and then the ger who is becomes like the native born. And that's the other thing I find fascinating. God uses native born, at least all three of my translations. He shall be the same as the native born. Go ahead, Gav.
He shall be as it's called Ezrahi, as one born in the land.
Okay, now here's the thing. What if you're a slave or a freed slave who's sticking around or decides to stay with his master, whatever, and the child is born? That child, I was saying earlier that the child gets circumcised. Am I wrong in saying that?
Are the parents Jews?
No, they're ger toshav.
No, there'd be no such circumcision.
They would, okay. Would they be considered citizens? Would the child be a ger toshav?
Well, I mean, you're asking two different things. Would they be a citizen or would they be a ger toshav? A ger toshav is not a citizen. It's like the difference between having citizen. Okay, a ger toshav is a green card holder. It's not someone with citizenship. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
Someone has the right to live there, but they're not full participants in the community.
They can't vote. They can't. Okay. So is the child then born a ger toshav?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
So ger toshav would breed ger toshavs.
I think for 3 generations.
Yeah, I mean, until they got old enough to make the choice for themselves. Yeah.
So probably. Oh, okay. What do you wait? Say it again. Until they make a choice of what, themselves being Jewish, or
no? The child grows up in this society. They're not Jewish.
Okay.
They get to be a certain age. Do they want to stick? If they don't want to, if they don't want to keep on following the law, they have to leave. Or if they want to stay.
That's interesting. So you're saying a ger toshav child has can oh, you know what? I'll be a Noahide.
If they wanted to leave, if they wanted to give up the Noahide laws, they couldn't be a ger toshav. They couldn't stay.
Right, that's what I'm saying. But it's not like a Jew where, like, if you're born a Jew, you can't go like, I'll go to Hollywood today and hang out with Barbara Streisand and be a Noahide.
Right. No, you can't. It's not an option.
Yeah, that's it. I'm just saying. I found that that's interesting. That's interesting.
So why would a person, a ger toshav, I mean, no, any person, why would any person want to become Jewish?
If they believe it's the truth, if they believe it's a benefit to their life, if they believe it would be more meaningful to their life, that type of thing. But it's not for everybody.
No, it truly isn't.
I really like that the Torah gives room for us folk who really like.
I was born into it. I don't have a choice. You do.
But you became a rabbi, right?
Of course. But I was born Jewish. I'm not a Noahide.
Yeah. Okay.
It's almost like he said, you know what? I was born into it. I'm stuck with it. All right. I'm going to go all the way. I'm going to go so far all the way that I'm going to be a rabbi.
You're kind of obligated. You're from a long line of rabbis, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, is that true?
No. Well, I mean, it's at one point in life. This was a couple hundred years ago. That would have been true, yes. But no, my father was not a rabbi. His father was not a rabbi. My father was like me. My father was a sofer. He was a scribe. My father's father, who I never met, well, I mean, he was just a tailor. He fixed pants.
Cool.
In Russia.
That's not bad. Scribe is pretty badass.
Yeah. It's
But a scribe has to have some sort of rabbinical training, though, and I mean, in some way, he's also somewhat of a rabbi. No.
Not, I mean, it's very common in this day and age for a scribe to also be a rabbi. It wasn't always the case. It's like an apprentice thing. You study under a scribe and you learn like you would apprentice under it, like you would apprentice under a welder and you would learn the job. Same thing.
Okay.
There's a lot to have to learn, and it's very, very. Don't get me wrong. It's very tedious work.
I mean, it would just seem natural that you would become a rabbi with it, because if you're learning the laws of like how to do the letters and how the Torah is set up and how to write it and all that, you would think, yeah, I guess it would flow into more rabbinical learning, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, for sure it does, but it just wasn't always the case.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very hard at first anyway, but I mean it's not a bad job. It pays actually exceptionally well, but
All right. Yeah.
Shalom, Frank. Welcome.
But if you just imagine sitting at a desk for 8 to 12 hours a day.
Huh.
I hear you there. Oof.
One of the things I wanted to get on when we get a little bit more of a full house here was the teaching of the Ger itself. I didn't want to get into and we didn't, and we haven't, and it's been awesome. Because I could tell there's a bit of a nervousness at first, about the topic because it's become so controversial. But if we look at it from a scholarly standpoint, okay, from just a reader of the Torah, from our Chumash here.
All right, James, let's go controversial. Let's do it.
No, not controversial. I don't want to go. I want to say that what is it teaching us? I mean, the big thing when God mentions it, it's always about love the Ger, don't taunt the Ger. Like the orphan and the widow, they go the same way. If you're a refugee, you go to if you're a refugee in Israel, you go to a city of refuge, which is run by Levites, priests, basically. What do we? I mean, how can we learn? How can we be good Ger and keep that part of Torah? How can a Ger fulfill that mitzvah? There you go. That's what I'm asking, because we're all Ger in the end. How does a Ger, on an average human being, treat the stranger sojourner? Because that's what it comes down to. Is not what is it as much as okay. Let's just say that we've got this cut out here with nobody in it. It's just a cut out in the picture. We'll fill him in later. How do we treat this guy? What are we supposed to do with this guy? How does this guy relate to us? Are we the Ger? What about someone who comes to us? Is he a Ger? You know what I mean? How do you It's
like Stefan. He just came to us today. How we're treating him? What are we doing here?
One to Ger.
We have a live example today. A new person coming to us for the first time. A Ger in person.
You embrace each other with open hearts and with truth.
Yeah, okay, all right. I guess we've done all right then.
Yeah. You know what, Brett? I called you Brett. I mean, James. Have you watched the movie 10 Commandments yet? With Charlton Heston.
My mom and I watched it years ago when it came on TV. I haven't seen it lately. I have seen the new one with Kristen Bale twice to kind of soak it all in.
I hate that movie.
I know. Figured, yeah, it's.
I have mixed feelings with that movie. It's interesting. It's a good, interesting movie. But I bring up the movies because there's such I don't know where they get it from or if it's even biblical or anything, but there's a scene where it's very peculiar, but I love the scene. It's when Moses, Charlton Heston's character, first discovers the burning bush, right? And, he's asking support. They're married now. And he's asking the wife, what's going on over there? What's that? What's over there? And she's like, oh, that's just, that's where God lives. That's God. That's where God lives. And he goes, what do you mean? If God's God, wouldn't he be on all mountains? Wouldn't he be in every valley? Wouldn't he be everywhere at all times? It's like that's what you're asking, right? That's what you're going for, right, James?
Maybe. That's a good question. But it's interesting how she would be so nonchalant about it, and how, like in every depiction of the story. Oh yeah, it's just the mountain of God. Don't go up there. That's all. La-di-da-di-da. I would want to be Moses. I would want to get in on some of that. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
That's where I'll take my flock.
So, what is the Jewish stance on Jesus? Was he a heretic or a prophet?
Neither.
I don't think anybody would call him a prophet.
Can you not be a heretic?
I would call him a prophet.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Can you not be a heretic if you say that you are God?
Who's to say he's the one that actually said that?
Well, if he's saying he's a son of God in the way that I'm a son of God, and our beautiful friend Frank is a son of God, and our beautiful rabbi that comes here every week is a son of God, and James is a son of God, and Ross is a son of God, and how you're a son of God, Stephan, then there's nothing wrong about saying that.
I mean, he used the word Lord, so not directly God, but it's implied in a way. I am the Lord, the way and the light. No one shall come to heaven
but through me.
Right. That's what you're trying. Right. That's the different. Right.
Well, he could have been quoting God. He could have been quoting Isaiah. Because that's how it would read.
Yeah.
And if he thought he was supposed to lead Judah to freedom, he might have. I don't think it doesn't make sense that a Jew that passionate would call himself God. It makes no sense. Any Jew would know better. Any Jew who studied Torah, who knew what Isaiah had to say, no Jew, you would know better than to say something like that.
Well,
but if he believes he's teaching you God's word, and he thinks he's got the right hook on it, I don't know if he's necessary. I'm trying to give him an out here that he wasn't calling himself God.
Right. That's why I would say that it borderlines whether he's a prophet. If he's speaking for God, then it's prophethood. But if someone is saying, they're literally God, that's when you have to step back and just go, okay.
He was made.
Welcome to the room, Frank, by the way.
Oh, thanks. It looks like I came at the right time.
Yeah. Gav says over here in the side chat, Jesus was a lay teacher who grew somewhat of a following, just like many other people at that time. No more, no less. He was. He wasn't the only one, and he wasn't the only one that knew that the fit was about to hit the shan. Pardon my French, my half-assed French. The fit was about to hit the shan. He knew it was coming. Anybody who looked at the place would have known it was coming. It wasn't a full effort. The Second Temple, there were no miracles there. Where like in the first David Solomon's temple, there were miracles, but there was no miracle here at this one. There, the Romans had bought out some people and hired. They installed the king. They chose the king for Israel, the last king. They decided, we're the one who's going to dictate who your king is now. Anybody knew the end was coming. Jesus wasn't stupid, and if from what I gather, the man, he was just doing the best he could at the time. And he was said it loudly, and I think that honestly he was beaten and nailed up to wood because they said to Judas, "Give us your leader, and we'll let the rest of you live."
Yeah.
Simple as that. And Jesus said, "Well, then I'll take the brunt of it for you." And I personally don't think he died up there. Only one gospel claims there was a fifth wound, and John is just acid You might as well just eat some old rye bread or something, man, and eat mushrooms or something to come up with John. That's the stupidest book I've ever seen. I can't believe anybody who could read the Bible would have anything to do with that. The other three, the Gnostic Gospels, whatnot, he sounds like, he tapped into something everybody knew was coming. He knew the temple was coming down. They asked him, how are we going to pray when there's no temple? And he says, our Father who art in heaven. Well, does that sound like a man who believed that he was God? It doesn't. He was doing the best he could. He knew it was crap. He wanted to round the Jewish people up to save themselves from what was coming, and he failed. And they made an example of him because the Gentiles got wind of him too. So when they decided to make their idol in their church, they used him as an example. That's how he got his popularity. He was probably the nice one that got more people to like him, and so Rome decided to, Koch brothers the thing and make it their own. Some people say he was a heretic. I've heard one rabbi call him a witch. No kidding. And if you take everything that this Jesus character says in the Gospels, yeah, he was way off.
That Jesus that they're talking about is not the Christian one, by the way. The one that's a witch.
How many Yachkas were around? How many Yeshus were around at the time? That was a popular name.
It was. They estimate, based on written records and a couple other things, that if you would have gone to a crowded square or market in Jerusalem on a Friday before Shabbat and yelled out Yeshua, as many as 25% of the men would have turned around.
That's like going to Crown Heights and yelling Mendel.
Yeah. No, I'm looking for the eye doctor. And 40 more raise their hands. Yeah.
From what I can gather, like the main difference between Judaism and Christianity, apart from Jesus proclaiming he was the Son of God and the Savior of mankind, is redemption. Am I right in assuming that?
No, God wants you to redeem yourself.
Yeah, sure. But according to Christianity, Jesus' death just cleared everyone of all sin and damnation, I suppose.
What's your question there, Stefan?
The trick in Christianity is it has eternal damnation. It has to save you from something. In Judaism, you're not saved from anything. You clean the mess up you make. God created this world for you for a reason. You are here. In Christianity, you got the devil. You got eternal damnation. You've got a whole war against God actively working in mankind. So you have to be saved from that. In Judaism, you can't be saved from anything but yourself. And that might be wrong way to look at it, man. A lot of people, I've argued with people on this, but it's all about you, man. You've got a decision to make. If you wind up getting killed because you kept a mitzvot, then you kept that mitzvot, damn it. And it shows up, and that, it's all about who you are. Whereas Christianity, you've got eternal damnation waiting around the corner that you're already worthy of before you even knew how to control your bowels. What a thing to teach children, that you're damned from the get-go. It's brilliant. It's a great way to keep people small and scared.
Like your response, like the way the sacrifices work is that I can't just go out and sin willy-nilly and just go, oh, okay, I'll go to the temple and like how the rabbi would put it, the Friday right before Shabbos and put it, the cow on the altar and here's my sins forgiven. That's not how it worked. That's not how it works. Like you're responsible for the sins you commit, meaning that you have to be put on trial and judged for the wrongdoings that you do.
So the sacrifices,
that was never the Christians very much take that you need a blood sacrifice for salvation so out of context.
So I don't need to sacrifice 100 sheep anymore.
No,
that's correct.
you only made the offering for an unintentional sin. And if you feel bad about it and you want to talk to God about it, you want to go to the priests and, and you've got some wood to help with the fire, maybe some flour. If you really want to give some of your flock, you get the best one. And if it's acceptable, it's a barbecue. And you're coming to God with that. Look, I did this and I really didn't think about it at the time, or I was distracted or something, and it led to this, and you work it out, and it's barbecue is what it is, except for, non-Jews, it would be an elevation. You just burn the whole thing. But you see what I'm saying when I say barbecue? I know I'm getting shallow, but that's when you gather together over cooked meat, over a meal, and discuss something. And so you're bringing this. It's like when you're late home from work and you're half drunk and you come to your wife and you bring her roses. The roses aren't going to mean jack squat if you aren't really sorry that you screwed up. She's going to see right through that bouquet of roses and know you're full of shit. The roses. That's what an offering is. That's all it is. I think there's in one of our Haftarahs, God's like, pile your sin offerings on your peace offerings or something like that. I didn't bring you out of Egypt to make offerings and to kill dead animals. I brought you out of Egypt to be close to me and keep the mitzvot. Be good people. Save the world. That's what he's asking of you. He's not asking you for blood. That was voluntary. Noah, voluntary. Adam, voluntary. Solely, both Cain and Abel, solely voluntary.
Well, then, not to. You had a beautiful speech going, but not to rain on your parade. But there were some.
Rain makes flowers grow.
There are some parts where God does demand blood sacrifice, like on Yom Kippur and some other, and maybe when a new priest is annulled. When the temple first opened, there are some to it. But anyway, I don't know, James. I don't know if you're looking, but we do have comments on the outside broadcast.
I didn't. Please, if you would.
Should I read them? Maybe we answer them.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I don't know how you pronounce this guy's name. Ether Raking. Is that how you say his name?
That's me, actually. That's me.
That is you. Oh. So why don't you did you ask these questions in here, or are these different?
No, those are different. I just felt like they didn't fit with the conversation, so I didn't bring it up.
This is jazz, man. Conversation goes where it goes.
How would you say that Noah was a moral man when he sacrificed the world? If the question seems loaded, it isn't my intention. How would you say more? So your question, if you don't mind me rewording it, like how can we deem Noah a moral man when he didn't try to stop the flood from happening? Would that be a better way of putting it?
When he didn't try to save as many people as possible, for example, that he judged the world on behalf of God.
Oh, there's actually two opinions about Noah. Some, say he, that to say that he was good for his time, that he was righteous for his time, that he didn't do enough. And another side of this argument would say that, what are you talking about? He saved the world. They weren't worthy. He said God said the end of all flesh has come before me. So why would Noah even bother? Why, you know what I mean? Those are two. No, that's what I've heard. That's what I
compared to Abraham, who kind of, sort of, if you want to use the term, Jewed God a little. He kind of haggled him a little bit. And what if there's 50 guys you're gonna take the righteous out of with the wicked?
Was that a question to me?
No, I'm just saying you bring up a very good point. If Noah, some say that if Noah was in this hangout, like if he went in one of these square boxes here, he wouldn't be even anywhere close to our righteousness. He would be below us. But then there's some that say that he could be counted among the righteous. So it's a good question.
Well, I have to say, you guys are spitting some pure fire into my heart. I really like it.
I do agree that Noah was kind of lacking in saving the world. He should.
I agree. Fire, yeah, and he's Viking too. So biggest hearts. That's a good fire. Hey, that's what we do here every week. So anytime you want to come get a spark, man, we do this for fun. This is what we do every week.
I think it's fun too, and you grow on it. But there was one thing you said about this rabbi who said that he didn't trust you. You would seem like an outsider. You
Right.
were like an outsider.
Well, I kind of, yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Following the steps, but not being true in the heart, wouldn't that sort of be sorcery?
Mm. Okay, see, that taps into stuff. That taps into strange fire. That's coming up a little later on. But there were Aaron's sons had a really great idea to bring this great fire they came up with before God. And it was strange. It was not what he prescribed. And they got zapped in front of the whole congregation because they brought strange fire. So yeah, definitely. You've seen Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark movie, and you had the Nazis dressed in the Kohen Gadol's robes, trying to do the rituals of, you try to do these rituals to make this ark thing work, and it backfired on them. So I think absolutely it could most definitely be used for sorcery.
Yeah, right. And I don't want to fall into any pitfalls. I don't want to invoke wrath upon myself. So the discoveries I've made in terms of what I can do in my life to get a closer connection with God, if that wasn't with a pure intention, if my motives were askew, that would be like sorcery.
You know what? You're absolutely right. God doesn't want you to be Jewish. He wants you to be you-ish.
Nice.
You have to believe in God with kavana. You know what kavana is?
No, I don't. I'm a complete layman.
That's Yiddish. It means with true intentions, your true feelings. You have to believe in God with the way you feel, the way you prescribe.
I want to save the world, man.
Then you got to do it.
Dude, what you said, that there's a reason why God words it this way in the Torah. He says, when a sorceress is among you, when a false prophet rises among you, that means that they would be in Yiddish dress, if you will. You have wolf in sheep's clothing. You know what I'm saying? You would have a wolf in lion's clothing. You would. There's a reason for that. Why would God mention things like sorcerers and diviners amongst the children of Israel? Aren't they pure and with little halos around their head and spiritual and crystals? No, it's because this is a human frailty, and it can even crop up in the nation of Israel, let alone the nations that can often thrive on that sort of stuff. It's a human frailty. Yeah.
Saul?
Go ahead, Ross. I'm sorry.
Remember the story of Saul, King Saul. He went to a medium after Samuel had died and consulted the medium.
The Witch of Endor.
Yes.
And it worked too, didn't it?
I think so. Didn't she? What did the witch say? That he was going to win the war or something?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Samuel said, "Why have you disturbed me?" He did talk to Saul. And
he worked through the right.
So yeah, there are mediums, and they are there, and he should not have done what he did, but they're there.
Okay. I think that the next logical question in this train of thought is, why would God prohibit this action with Israel? If it works, and it has, why would Israel be prohibited from it?
We're not supposed to know, is my thought on it, at least.
Yeah, well, welcome to Judaism. We ask questions. And I gotta know, inquiring minds want to know. Why would it, when you, my thought would be, was you wouldn't need that sort of stuff. If you're keeping the mitzvot, if you're doing what needs to be done as a community, you wouldn't need things like divination and sorcery. It would be, there would be, you know, it would be a de-evolution. It would be a, you know, it would be a cancer. Everything you would get from a sorcerer, everything you could get from a diviner or a necromancer, anything you could possibly get from them, you're going to get from God. Anyway.
Really? Huh. That's
Because it comes from God.
It's a perversion of what already was. You know, Adam.
The bigger question is, why didn't Saul consult Hashem rather than a medium?
Ooh.
Who is he trusting?
Didn't his son die?
Saul's son?
Yeah.
No, wasn't his son Jonathan?
Yeah. Well,
I don't think he died, did he?
I must have misheard then. I thought you guys said that his son died and then he went to the oracle or something like that.
no. I said Samuel the prophet.
Yeah, the prophet died and he was without the prophet.
Right.
Well, you know, in times of great distress, I suppose that people don't have that same relationship with God as they had when things were good.
Another human frailty.
Yes.
Again, there's the point. Do you trust God or not?
Well, it's difficult to maintain the belief. Like, there are two ways of seeing belief, right? One is I believe something and I hold that in the back of my head. And the other way of seeing belief is that you hold the belief in the now, which is a precursor to the connection to God, right?
I would agree.
Just I look at it this way. There's Torah prohibitions against astrology, fortune telling, forecast, your whatever, your astrological forecast and what your day is going to be like, and people flip coins, roll dice, whatever. And the whole deal is, if you're believing in these little good luck charms or I don't know, witchcraft, fairy tales, idols, whatever you want to call it, it's just flat out not trusting God. He says, do not look for signs and omens, and just don't try to think that you've got some kind of inside clue. Just live your life, and whatever happens, know that God is there the whole time. You might encounter something what you would consider adverse, but whatever you're encountering is for your benefit, A, and B, you have choices. Everything that comes your way is a choice. How will you respond? And if you really want to work it out, try to think good. Try to look for the good. It may be difficult to see, but there's always something good there. You drive a car, right?
No, I don't.
Okay. Well, common sense would tell you. You've probably seen the scenario where somebody's driving down the street and then there's another car just inches off of his rear bumper. Like he's really in a hurry, or what you might consider driving aggressively. Have you ever seen this happen?
Sure, maybe it's just really trusting of God.
He got you there.
No, well, I mean, the driver in the front car sees the driver of the car in his rear view mirror, just inches off of his bumper. He's nervous. He gets aggravated. He's excited, and he probably gets angry. Would you agree?
Definitely. That seems like a normal human response.
Okay. Now, the individual in the car behind him may not be aggressive, angry, or rude. That person in the car behind him might actually be trying to get someone to a hospital who's just broken an arm or a leg, or
Sure.
has some other medical condition. You really don't know what's going on. Now, if the guy flies by you and waves at you with one finger, well, it's pretty easy to figure out. But unless and until that happens, you probably should assume I need to get out of this person's way. It could be an emergency, rather than thinking about 36 different names you could probably call the person.
Ladies and James, we're going to go ahead and end the live broadcast right now. If you'd like to join in the conversation, we do this every Thursday, pretty much every Thursday throughout the year, here on Google+, the Nilvah Nexus Facebook page, the Nilvah Nexus Google+ group. Feel free to join them and join the conversation. JamesTheIdolSmasher@gmail.com is my address on behalf of Kat, Frank, John, Stefan, Russ, Rabbi Gav, and myself. Shabbat Shalom, y'all.